Hello and welcome to
Create.
Today. I'm delighted to be joined by Helena Good from Daydream Believers. I first met Helena some years ago when we were judging the DMA Breakthrough Awards for students. She had brought a cohort of students from Edinburgh College into the awards programme and quite remarkably won gold, silver and bronze at one event. Helena, great to see you again.
Lovely to be here, Ian. Thanks very much for the invitation.
Tell me, why did you launch Daydream Believers?
So, Ian, for anyone who works in education, they will understand this experience where you go along to a meeting and you're sitting there thinking, we've talked about this before and we are talking about this again, and we are just aligning and scoping, but nobody is building. And it was that sheer sort of frustration on my part that really led me to gather a group of people together and say, let's stop talking and let's build something. And we started with a very simple question. So it was a mixture of people from industry, educators, university colleagues, and students. And we sat around the table and we said, what do you wish someone had told you at 13? And that's where it began.
So what did Daydream Believers become?
So we have worked over the years as a group of people, dreamers and doers, people who kind of roll up their sleeves and make something. And we've created a free online platform for teachers, classroom-ready resources written by universities, partners, big brands like Lego and Skyscanner, smaller agencies based up here in Edinburgh, universities like the University of Lincoln and Edinburgh College of Art. And really, when we speak with our partners, one of the first sort of questions we ask them, is what if we get it right? And we start from there.
That's great. So I think what's really refreshing is when you launched an team, what you launched with was this idea of putting creativity at the heart of education. I think it's pretty well accepted that creativity, for some reason, has slipped down the agenda at a time when industry is crying out for people to be able to use critical thinking, collaboration, problem solving, for businesses to be successful, societies to be richer and more diverse. So what are the types of courses that you've got available as part of that Daydream Believers platform?
Yeah, I mean, very much so. One of the things that we feel very passionate about is the fact that creativity should not be making a guest appearance in our curriculum. And what we are on a mission to do is to put it center stage. So, for example, one of the ways that we've done that is break into the senior phase in education in high schools. So really sitting in that timetable around GCSEs and A-levels, it's a national 5 and a higher here in Scotland. We've created a new qualification in creative thinking. That is the equivalent as a GCSE and an A-level. 6 hours a week, timetabled in classes. And in this current academic year, we're online at the minute to have over 70 high schools in Scotland delivering that. And we're speaking with our partners across the UK to look at how we can take this experience and embed it center stage across the whole curriculum in the UK.
I find the resources that you've made available really, really interesting. I mean, frankly, I wish I was a kid doing those courses. I mean, to be honest, I could do them now as an adult because they would be valuable, interesting, and a whole lot of fun. I think they would also create memories.
Yeah.
Memories that as a kid you can go back to and go, God, I remember when I did that thing, because there's some great ideas at the heart of that. Could you talk me through some of the things like Forestopia, Sea Story, Music for the Soul, Solar Punk Island? I mean, they sound cool.
Yeah.
Talk us through how they work.
Yeah, so all of these resources you mentioned are free on our website. So anyone can go in and download them. So when we talk about them, and if something intrigues you as you hear us speak about them, please do that. Go and do it and have a look at it. We always know in Daydream that we have created something magical when we share it with our teachers, and our teachers look around and they go, oh my God, I want to do it. Then you know you're on a winner. Because if that teacher is excited about delivering it, then that absolutely comes across to our young people. So take, for example, the one you mentioned, Forestopia, which is part of the qualification. It's delivered across an academic term. It's a big, chunky experience, but it is about bringing real world into the classroom. And that was working in partnership with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So we know that our young people need to know and learn about the circular economy. They need to know about inner development goals, sustainable goals, and we've put them into this soup. So they imagine in the challenge, which is create a theme park connected to the ecosystem of the forest. They are building a theme park, but what they're learning about is circular design and where that fits within food, within merchandise, and within an experience. But we've also had to be aware that there are a lot of our young people out there who've never been to a forest and are unlikely to do that within their high school experience. So we've created an immersive forest experience as part of that takes them into it, takes them into the woods, talks to them about what it feels like to be there, in the hope that that entices them to go and try and make that happen. But in everything that we do, we are very aware of making this equitable and encouraging diversity. So as a learner, all you need is a piece of paper and some pencils. That's the basic equipment. And we have to be aware that if we're going to bring about change in our curriculum, we've got to think about the fact that arts and materials and teachers are all being pushed to their very limit. So when you say to a teacher, we've got you, have this, it's free, and go and play and have fun with it, then that's where the momentum, then that's where change happens.
Extraordinary. And could you just talk through the sort of feedback that you've got from the kids that have been involved in the program? Because that's obviously going to be your evidence ultimately, isn't it?
Absolutely. What's quite interesting is there is a big kind of push within education talking about learner agency and learner voice. And when, Education Scotland or our partners kind of come in and they look at that and they want feedback to see about the impact and where change is happening, time after time again, it's our qualification where our young people are saying, this is where my voice is heard. Now, why is that happening? Because in our qualification, it's all about the process and not the product. And we've managed to map an assessment that's robust, that rewards failure. And when it comes to communication, which is one of the learning outcomes, we just say, tell us a story, make us care. So we've had young people build experiences in Minecraft and TikTok. Last week in the Van of Dreams, which is one of our challenges, create your community's been gifted a camper van. What does the van look like and how does it benefit your community? One of our young people felt that not enough young people had access to music education and that music was a core part of our well-being. So they brought in their own live band in to tell that story and make us care. And that is the joy of learning.
Absolutely. You used a really interesting phrase there, which will probably be quite controversial in some quarters, but you reward failure. Could you just talk through that?
I'm so proud of this, Ian. I think I'm going to put this on my kind of, my tombstone or some kind of, but we managed to have a qualification that our young people get an A in failure. So failure is about iteration and failure is about being uncomfortable in that space where we're throwing a curveball. Every single one of us is dealing with curveballs at the minute, and no more so than at the minute in education. And one of the biggest curveballs is Gen AI and what's happening. And I'm incredibly excited, terrified of where we are. But what we've done in our qualification is, instead of building a wall around it and saying you must not use it, we've opened it up and said use it. And in particularly around this iterative phase. So we're encouraging our young people to use Gen AI when they've done the research, when they've got their concept, to take it in and play with it in that space, but to show us and be rewarded for the journey that they've gone on. What's really exciting here is we're seeing a lot of young people who maybe have got to the senior phase in high school and somehow believe, because they couldn't draw a bowl of fruit, that they're not creative. And what Gen AI offers them the opportunity is to begin to believe that they are creative. Because you put the right prompt in, you start to get a visual. And that's a real spark, a real beautiful aha moment, as we call it in Daydream.
Well, as I know from a very long career in the creative industry, no creativity happens without vulnerability. At some point, you have to posit an idea, a thought about something that, until the point it's on a piece of paper, it doesn't exist.
Absolutely.
You're connecting maybe two completely separate things in your head to create something new. And it can be very difficult to voice that sometimes if the culture that you're working within or whatever isn't appreciative and doesn't allow you to do that and potentially fail to then go on and produce something better. I mean, it's, as we know, it's at the heart of innovation, etc. So yeah, I think that's a really great thing that you're doing with that. And how might universities get involved in what you're doing with Daydream Believers? You've already got, as you've said, a number of partners. I think I'm right in saying that Edinburgh Napier
Yes,
actually underwrite the qualification.
that's right. Yeah.
How might other universities get involved?
So when we looked at creating the qualification, we brought together representatives from all of the art colleges and universities in Scotland. And we came together with a cup of tea and a couple of biscuits. And people always say, Helena, you drew us in with the biscuits. And what I said to them was, it's no longer acceptable for us to be ever saying to a young person, forget what you learned at school and let's start again. We need to look at a much more direct connection with what's happening in our high schools. And we need to stop seeing ourselves as competitors. We are in this together. So what we have opened up a space is for you as a university to create the kind of lessons that you think should be been delivered in the senior phase of high school. So there's going to be a much more direct correlation between the kind of applications you're getting. Now, our hope is in doing that the first year of any course transforms, because these young people are coming into your classes, into your groups, knowing the process that you're involved in and have much more awareness of the real world and the kind of timeframes and the skills that are necessary for that. Now, if you're thinking about it and thinking, well, how do we do that? First of all, think as a university, how much money do you spend on a marketing campaign to our young people, to admissions? What if you transform some of that money into actually creating a resource, an experience that spotlights some of the work that you do inside? This is what our studios look like. This is what we do. And we were able to get that to young people right across the UK and beyond. Now, to me, in marketing, that makes a whole lot more sense.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, but it's also visionary. And really, hats off to you and the rest of the team for developing this fantastic resource. I would urge anybody watching this to go and check out the website. The URL is here. And see what Helena has created with a whole group of other collaborators. to try and fix a fundamental problem in education, full stop, and ultimately that is holding back a generation or generations of young people from really achieving their full potential, and consequently holding back industry and the public sector from creative individuals who could just change the world. Helena, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for the work, and good luck to you.
Thanks, Ian. It's been an honor to spend time with you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.